bad. I had a running stream, and then I went ahead and pushed the wrong button, and I lost everybody. The pain of using OBS to record video and also to send the stream. Bye everyone, I hope you all come back. Okay, I'm going to pretend you're all here and still watching. So let's import the video that I just recorded. Is this one? Oh, I need to change this to the camera view. Here we go. So after a short explanation of how the game worked and how the 3D models are made, I went on to refactor the networking from the existing UDP library I was using to another one called Laminar. Now what my past self doesn't yet know is unfortunately this didn't work out. But how about you watch me struggle with it for a bit before we all agree that it was better to just go back to what we originally had. And yeah, that's the story, unfortunately. Okay, there's so much fun I can't stop doing it. Anyone into this is probably to actually check it out, so let's just do that. I can't believe I dropped everybody off the stream. I wonder if anyone's made it back yet. That's such a bummer. Oh, yeah, apparently some people are here. That's great. I'm so sorry I dropped you off the stream. I meant to push end recording and I pushed stop streaming, which is like such a blunder. Oh well. I'll just have to live with the fact that a bunch of you never come back. I hope you do. Let's just do that. Some terrible networking library that's made. So I put this clip in. So this is the clip we just recorded. And we're going to move all these clips across. Oh, I need to change this to the camera view. Here we go. So somewhere about there. We'll make another cut. So after a short explanation of how the game worked and how the 3D models are made, I went on to refactor the networking from the existing UDP library I was using to another one called Laminar. Now what my past self doesn't yet know is unfortunately this didn't work out. But how about you watch me struggle with it for a bit before we all agree that it was better to just go back to what we originally had. So that's a good place to end the clip. So I'll just delete the rest of this. Into this is probably to actually check it out, so let's just do that. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this one down and move it back a bit. Just go back to what we originally had. Delete this gap. So let's continue. Struggle with it for a bit before we all agree that it was better to just go back to what we originally had. Some terrible networking library that's made of dark powers. So what it does is it sends... There's something so endearing about that chipmunk sound. But it gets really grating after a while, so I've got to keep it really short. So what it does is it sends reliable messages, unreliable messages, both over the same UDP. It can handle multiple streams. Maybe we should move the coding clips and place them over the end of my... I put a tail out on that original clip I showed you before. So we'll move these down and then... let's just watch me introduce from the existing UDP library I was using to another one called Laminar. Now what my past self doesn't yet know is unfortunately this didn't work out. But how about you watch me struggle with it for a bit before we all agree. Move this. That it was better to just go back to what we originally had. Some terrible networking library that's... Some terrible networking library that's made of dark powers. Properly. There's a gap here I need to delete. And another one here. So what it does is it sends reliable messages, unreliable messages, both over the same UDP. It can handle multiple streams. It does. There's an in there I don't like. Let's have a listen to that again. UDP. It can handle. So where's the same UDP. So the happens right before the end of this clip. About there. So I'll just get rid of it. The same UDP. It can handle. I can still hear it. Over the it can handle multiple streams. Still hear it. It can handle multiple streams. It does all the retries. It can also throw away packet. Maybe I could just use it and then write my own stuff on top of it. I've got this one's called SG Core. This one's called SGNet. SG stands for Space Game. Of course, the network knows enough about simulation to create it and to feed messages through, and no one else knows about the network apart from SGNet. And in SG Core, which is the Godot initialization stuff, we create a world called Space World ID, which is always ID 0, and then with that world we add 2 spaceships at the 2 locations, minus 18, and minus 18.5 X and Y. Compiling. I'll queue up. Let me just the video editors kind of can't keep up with the video until it's rendered. When it's been accelerated that fast, it needs a bit of a break. I'm just giving it one. I'll queue up. Oops. So you can see that suddenly my t-shirt color has changed. Oh, hello Mooney. It's nice to see you. Moo to you too. So thank you for joining me. As you can see, I'm busy editing some video. Let me continue. Again, it's not going to work. Let's run the client. Oh, it didn't compile. I must have malformed something. Process message. It's a massage. I wouldn't want to process a massage. I'm more likely to want to process a message. Well, I want to process a massage. And we're good to go. And it's saying not too much. Oh, I see. We lost our connection when I selected the box and things timed out. Connection's not working. So this is when I start to realize that Laminar is these ones, causing these bugs. Those shapes are mostly like ASCII art versions of the ship layouts, and they come from Production Floor, which is the class that manages the ship layout. There's this function here, render to string. If you're just joining us, this is old strings character to find one of the walls, and here's all the different kinds of walls you can have. And so that's where basically we're just drawing the grid of the ship from the top left down to the bottom. For each part of the wall, we write out the relevant character. So we've got a case statement on the outside for which kind of wall we've got, and then each kind of wall has its own symbol. We have adjust floor. Adjust floor understands how to add an. So I'm happy with the editing of that stuff already. When I output it later to YouTube, you'll get a chance to watch all of it if you've missed some of it before. And at a better resolution too, because right now you can only see very low preview resolution. So here I show ship demos. Some physics moving has to update the cursors, and I think now we're into the unedited video at the end. Where constructor's asking if I paper tested this game. I have decided that my game is too much like Clockwork. And my concerns are not about I'm not concerned I can make the game fun. So we're constructed a conversation. We're constructors asking if I paper tested this game. I have decided. So this is me sounding awfully confident. I mean, honestly, I'm a bit anxious I can't make the game fun, but I feel like it's possible. Constructors asking if I paper tested this game. So we're gonna. I have decided that my game is too much like Clockwork. And my concerns are not about I'm not concerned I can make the game fun. So we constructed a conversation with me on Discord recently where he said he was concerned about making a fun game. And I said, if you're worried about making a fun game that has all the right rules and that works, make it work on paper. I don't think I can. I wonder if I can put that in a highlight video and make it make sense. Because the point I'm trying to make here is that I'm trying to de-risk my project, so I'm trying to handle the stuff that I find terrifyingly dangerous first. So one thing I found terrifyingly dangerous was that nobody was going to be interested at all. Zero interest in what I was making. I couldn't market it. It would never happen. Not a single person would ever pay attention to what I'm doing. Now, it's not masses of people, it's not thousands, it's not millions, it's not really, it's not a huge audience, but honestly, I'm engaging with the 30 of you guys that is currently showing us viewing. That's something. I've got, followers, so I feel like I can get past nothing and get to growing, and that's okay. So the marketing side's okay. I don't feel like the fun side's too hard because there are games in my genre that are very fun. So if I can find a way to make that work with what I want to make, that should be fun too. Like there's lots of good game loops like we can see in a lot of existing games. So the danger for me is just technical danger now. And those are not that big a deal, like multiplayer working and so on. I'm not worried about those. I have decided that my game is too much like Clockwork, and my concerns are not about I'm not concerned I can make the game fun. So we constructed a conversation with me on Discord recently where he said he was concerned about making a fun game, and I said if you're worried about making a fun game that has all the right rules and that works, make it work on paper. Which is, focus on the prototype that's going to prove your point, right? My concerns are not that I can make a fun game. I am not concerned about that right now. I am highly convinced that I can make a factory game in space. It's fun. I don't know exactly how yet. The things that are bothering... Sorry, let's just do that. I am not concerned about that right now. I am highly convinced that... I'll just put that... Concerns are not that I can make a fun game. I am not... So we'll find a start of that conversation. He was concerned about making a fun game, and I said, if you're worried about making a fun game that has all the right rules and that works, make it work on paper. So let's just say that that's probably the start of the right sentence here. My concerns are not that I can make a fun game. I am not concerned about that right now. I am highly convinced that I can make a factory game in space. It's fun. I don't know exactly how yet. The things that are bothering me are technical problems. I need to make a multiplayer game. I need to be able to make a Clockwork lockstep world and also an action game at the same time, and actually make it work. I believe if I cloned Factorio, that it would be fun, because Factorio is fun. So in terms of game design, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to straight up clone it. I'm going to do something different, but I'm going to make it close enough that it's fun, that like it feels fun in the same way. How to say that? I feel like in a long 2-hour, 3-hour stream, you kind of lose the mention of clone famous game. In a short 15-minute YouTube video, people are going to notice you saying that. I'm being honest here. I feel like Factorio has de-risked the idea of factories being fun, because Factorio is so much fun. I love that game. So that's why I say I'm not afraid of it being fun. Yeah. I need to be able to make a Clockwork lockstep world and also an action game. So I can't really put that sentence in the finished video, so we need to take that out. Work lockstep world and also an action game. 100% respect to all the Factorio devs. I think you guys are amazing, for sure. Thank you for making a cool game at the same time, and actually make it work. I believe if I cloned Factorio... Does that sentence make sense? Let me just pay more attention again to this. World and also an action game at the same time. We'll put the cut there. And actually make it work. I believe if I... and actually make it work, so I'll undo those two cuts and we'll find and actually make it work. At the same time. And actually make it work. There we go. Hope you don't mind listening to me say the same thing like a ton of times. This is what editing sounds like, unfortunately. I believe if I cloned Factorio, blah, that it would be fun. I do, because Factorio is fun. That. So, but I can't say it. In terms of game design, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to straight up clone it. I'm going to do something different. But I'm going to make it close enough that it's fun. That like it feels fun in the same way. So it's just, we're going to cut all that out. I never said that. You didn't see me say that, so I didn't say it. At the same time. And actually make it work. Yeah, that's what I have to say on that subject. I didn't say anything else about it. Okay. As soon as I get concerned, part of the thing is that I'd probably find simulating the conveyor flows monotonous myself, and yeah, I love coding. To be honest, I'm doing this for the fun of it. I am. Like, I started making a simpler game to prove I could make a simpler game, and I got bored of it. It was too simple, so I went back to the harder, complicated game, and actually make it work. I love coding. To be honest, I'm doing this for the fun of it. Like, I'm having a good time right now, trawling through all these bugs. Let's get rid of the but the rest of it's great. Totally through all these bugs. Okay. We have moved our communications to the Godot thread. This is pretty cool. We have gone here, taken the starword link, added the physics process, started client, killed the client, fix that warning. We have moved. So I wonder, we have moved our communications to the Godot thread. This is pretty cool. We have gone here, taken the starword link, added the physics process, started client, killed the client, fix that warning, added a disconnect, put a Cobalt server in. What have we done? Network. So I'll just cut some of that down to make it shorter. So fix that warning, added a disconnect, put a Cobalt server in. What have we done? So get rid of the what have we done. Put a Cobalt server in. What have we done? You know, I really appreciate the move, but the rest of you guys, you're kind of not living up to the whole chatting aspect here. I'd love to hear what you think so far, because I'm sitting here listening to myself talk. And you might think I enjoy that, but I don't. I'd like to listen to you talk, so please say something. I'd appreciate that. Network is now maintained from the Godot thread. So what's cool about managing it from the Godot thread? Well, what's cool about that? Network is now maintained from the Godot thread. So we're going to cut that little bit out there until I say so. So we'll put that. So this little bit here and that little bit there, we're going to cut those out. So they're gone now. What have we done? Network is now maintained from the Godot thread. So what's cool about managing it from the Godot thread? Well, what's cool about that is that now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of this. So what's cool about managing it from the Godot thread? So we're going to get rid of the repetition. Well, what's cool about that is that now it's... So we're going to start it now. Is that now... So where do I say the word now? Somewhere in here. Now it's... I actually had it right in the right place. Now, so I'll put it here. And we'll just delete that. And we'll just see how it sounds. Thread. Now it's pretty... Oh, wow, that turned out perfect. Let's listen to that one more time. From the Godot thread. And now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not touching it. It's now safe to... Okay, that's rambling again. I ramble a lot. Because I'm usually thinking while I'm explaining, so the result is that what I say makes no sense. It's trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not touching it. It's now safe to poll the input stuff. Thread. Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not thread. Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not touching it. It's now safe to poll the input stuff. We've got... So we'll just say the network is not touching it, or in there. Not touching it. So that's a good place to end. It's now safe to poll the input stuff. So, if I was to look at Git, I would find that I have a branch. Where are we? By the way, I'm sorry it's white. You'll notice most of my stuff is black. I don't like white stuff. You can probably tell by looking at my face that white stuff is kind of annoying in a dark room. That's quite funny. We have to leave that in. If I was to look at Git, I would find that I have a branch. Where are we? If I was to look at... So we'll have to put in the introduction to the idea that the white window is coming up for that other joke to make any sense. It's not touching it. So if I was to look at Git, I would find that I have a branch.
Where are we?
Look at my face, man.
By the way, I'm sorry it's white. You'll notice most of my stuff is black. I don't like white stuff. You can probably tell by looking at my face that white stuff is kind of annoying in the dark room. So, let's not worry too much about that, but I apologize for blinding you if that's what I'm doing. Now, I have here...
So I'll get rid of that last part where I apologize, right? Because I don't apologize anymore. Now I think you want it, right?
That white stuff is kind of annoying in the dark
Just
room.
kidding.
So, let's not worry too much about that, but I apologize for blinding you if that's what I'm doing. Now, I have here a player input branch. All the things I care about I've committed. So, I don't know why it says,
This looks incredibly boring. Let's just fast forward a bit and see where I end up. So I obviously look at Git for a while. I'm merging things across multiple branches. Pushing, pulling. Lots of coding going on. What am I talking about now?
Let me just find that again. Can I find that again?
Still sounds boring. Okay, so we're just going to cut all of that out.
Oh, yes.
So you probably can't read it, but right now it says that the edited video is 18 minutes long.
Well, I'll put that in a whip commit back then.
And the raw video that we're editing from was 3 hours long. We've already put 3 of them in, so done pretty good throwing stuff away. I'm a master at like throwing things in the bin. That's what you need for this job. But I probably should get down to 1 minute, really. That's not going to happen for this. I need another video that does that.
Branch, we got this commit up here. That one is based on master, and it won't compile because it's a whip commit. That's why I called it whip. So if I try and compile this now, what we've done is I've created a new action. So if I go into actions.rs, I created one here called player input. I think I also created interacts with.
So I'll take the introduction here. So
Input
I introduced the
contains all of
subject about here.
What we've done is I've created a new action.
So there.
What we've done is I've created a new action. So if I go into what we've done is I've created a new action.
So that'll be all we want.
Stuff. You can probably tell by looking at my face. Compile. Because it's a whip commit. That's what.
So we get rid of all of that.
Room. What we've done is I've created a new action. So if I go into actions.rs,
so there's a certain amount of this here.
That white stuff is kind of annoying in the dark room. What we've done is I've created a new action. So if I go into actions.rs,
so if I go into actions.rs.
So if I go into actions.
Oh no, I won't put that on.
.rs,
It's about here, I think.
I created one here called player input. I think I also created interacts with.
So those are the 2 new actions that get sent to the server when you do certain things in the game. So the game works by sending actions get sent through the networking. And so this whole discussion is about how we create an action for player input.
Created a new action. I created
So you
one
can
here called player
move
input.
a player.
I think I also created interacts with. Player input contains all the things I could possibly imagine wanting to know about what the player is doing with their input keys. We want to know which client is making inputs. We want to know what their button states are. I created masks for all the buttons I could think of on a normal controller. Which ones have changed, which is basically using the same buttons as the same mask. We want to know where the left stick is in terms of proportions in the 2 axes that a stick could go, both left and right. So this is something that would be controller based, this idea of input, and I might then map keyboard keys to the same controller buttons. I'm not sure how to manage this very well. Another way to do masks would be to name all the different things that are going to happen in the game. What I'm imagining I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a controller that's blank. I'm going to figure out on my game logic what I want to map the different buttons to. Then I'm going to go through and refactor it.
So I waffle a bit here, and there's a bit too much detail for an edited video. One thing that's also obvious is that the volume level's a bit low.
The player is doing with their input keys. You want to know where the left stick is in terms of proportions in the two axes that a stick could go, both left and right. So this is something that would be controller based.
Yeah, so here I start to lose my train of thought.
Stick could go. Basically, using the same buttons as the same mask.
Yeah.
I created masks for all the buttons I could think of on a normal controller.
Yeah, so let's get rid of that at the end, and that's us. So let me find the start of that it's just there. So about there. So I'm going to cut there. Pardon me. Something about streaming that just makes me 10 times as embarrassing. Okay, let's go. Sorry about the background noise if it's bothering you, by the way.
Which ones have changed? Which is basically using the same buttons as the same mask. We want to know where the left stick is in terms of proportions in the two axes that a stick could go, both left and right. So this is something that would be controller based.
So waffle.
What I'm imagining I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a controller that's blank. I'm going to figure out on my game logic what I want to map the different buttons.
Yeah.
But inside of anyway, we'll figure that out.
So what I come up with is I'm actually pretty happy with. I come up with this idea of attaching like an agency to certain entities, and then allowing the entities to decide what to do with that agency. I think it's quite cute.
Now, place module is implementing a trait. I created a trait for my own convenience, and this trait is called execute action.
So we'll explain this.
Laser, weapon, railgun, and wall. There's a few placeholders in there that...
Do I explain place module? I think I just did. I missed it.
I've got one here called place module. And we go into this module called actions. Now, in my system for actions...
Yep, so that's where I want to be. So we're going to delete everything up to that. And then here's an explanation about how actions work, which is pretty good to have.
Now, in my system for actions, the way these all work, so let's just quickly show you how that works. So if we go into simulation, and we go into source, and we go into this module called actions, I've got one here called place module. So if I want to place a module in the game...
So we'll just get rid of a bit of waffle here.
And we go into this module called actions. I've got one here called place module.
Okay, and then I pause for a bit while I think.
So if I want to place a module in the game, I want to say where it doesn't exist. So if I want to...
Actually, no, I don't really waffle for very long, so I'll just leave that in. I just rub my nose. And yeah, you notice this stuff more often when you watch a recording of yourself.
I've got one here called place module. So if I want to place a module in the game, I want to say where it is in X and Y, which module it is, and which direction it's facing, left, right, up or down. Right? And so module it is, and which direction it's facing, left, right, up or down.
So we'll just end that clip there.
Right?
And then we'll see what
so
I do
make
next.
This like so. Which module it is could be from this list. Module it is.
So
which
I need to catch that which.
Like so.
A little bit back. And then clip here and delete this. Let's listen to that one more time.
Which module it is, and which direction it's facing, left, right, up or down. Which module it is could be from this list. Storage conveyor, refinery, scoop, manufacturer, constructor, flight console, engine generator, weapon, mining laser, weapon, railgun, and wall.
So this is when childhood obsessions come to play. I used to love video editing when I was a kid. I didn't do much of it, but I think liking it and doing enough of it to get the idea, I don't know. I just think if you love something enough, you can figure it out, whatever that task is. So I just want to encourage you, no matter your age, if you like something, just go at it. Doesn't matter if you're good at it yet. Just keep trying, and you'll get good at it after a while.
Left, right, up or down.
I guess you're assuming. You can tell. I'm assuming I'm okay at video editing. There are people who are a lot better than me.
Which module it is could be from this list. Storage
Sufficiently
conveyor,
good.
refinery, scoop, manufacturer, constructor, flight console, engine generator, weapon, mining laser, weapon, railgun, and wall. There's a few placeholders in there that should be pretty exciting when they're in the game.
They should be. There's a few placeholders in there.
There's a few placeholders in there that should be pretty exciting when they're in the game.
That should be.
Now, place module is implementing a trait. I created a trait for my own convenience.
So place module is implementing a trait for actions.
Now,
and I want to mention this.
Place module is implementing a trait. I created a trait for my own convenience. And this trait is called executes action. Executes action has one function. I give you one. Place module is implementing a trait. I created a trait for my own convenience. And this trait is called implementing a trait. I created a trait for my own convenience. And this trait is called executes action. Executes action has one action.
So we'll just cut to
Executes
there.
action.
We'll try and see how that sounds.
Place module is implementing a trait. Executes action has one function. I give you one function. And that function takes a mutable world and it returns something called a module, an undo action. I'm not sure if I want to keep these undo actions. It was kind of an idea, but it's getting quite hard to actually do these and it might not really work. The idea of an undo action is you can run time backwards by undoing everything that's happened since a certain point.
It's a good idea, but they have to be able to be completely reversible for it to actually work. I was also wondering about people wanting to place something and then say, nah, actually cancel, undo that, and again use undo action for that. So use them for both purposes. So it seemed like a good idea.
Time backwards by undoing everything.
Although if you like the raw footage, then you're probably going to enjoy my stream. So you should click that button wherever it is. I don't know where it is. There's a button somewhere that says, "Do you want to follow me?" And that would be awesome. Or join my Discord. This is the recall singularity that's being edited. Anyway, let's keep going.
Happens since a certain point. I don't think, in many cases, the idea is they're supposed to save enough information to reverse whatever they did. It melts my brain a bit at the moment, so I'm not sure if that's actually going to work.
I like, being honest. I like being honest. Let's just be honest.
It melts my brain a bit at the moment, so I'm not sure if that's actually going to work.
So hopefully I'm not waffling too much. I've added quite a lot of length recently, just since that rollback. There's quite a lot of talking about my plans and what I'm doing.
Manufacturer, constructor, flight console, engine generator, weapon mining laser, weapon railgun, and wall. There's a few placeholders in there that should be pretty exciting when they're in the game. Place module is implementing a trait. Executes action has one function. I give you one function. And that function takes a mutable world
recognizing the second time.
and it returns something called a module, an undo action. I'm not sure if I want to keep these undo actions. It was kind of an idea, but it's getting quite hard to actually do these and it might not really work. The idea of an undo action is you can run time backwards by undoing everything that's happened since a certain point. It melts my brain a bit at the moment, so I'm not sure if that's actually going to work. So placing some...
I need to end that. I'm not sure if it's going to work.
Melts my brain a bit at the moment, so I'm not sure if that's actually going to work.
So we'll end that there. So, blah, blah, blah. Talk about the action some more.
That by itself doesn't actually... It has the concept of place and how it looks, but it doesn't actually have any logic to it. These other classes...
So this is me explaining what an entity component system is, which is pretty cool.
Scoop, flight console, engine, you've got all these different types. Most of these are placeholders right now. I've just put them in for now. They don't even have models yet.
So I'm kind of trying not to get distracted by adding too many models before I add behavior.
We have apply. We're going to check to see who are you. Like, the action tells us which entity in the game is inhabited. We're going to check to see who are you.
Does this make any sense? Because if I was to jump straight to here, we've jumped straight into making an action called set player input, and without any context, the person watching is going to be like, what the hell? I almost feel like we need to split this video at sometime soon, around the point where we had Laminar, and then make another video about the next thing, which is the input stuff. Because the first thing we managed to do was fail to port the networking. The next thing we're doing is this input stuff. That could be like a second story. So how do we manage that? We're going to save this edit. Save. I'm going to file, save as, where are we? Save project as. And in the name here, I'm going to say first half or something, network issue, right? And we're going to find the point where I decided that I was going to roll back, and I'm going to say that's the end of this video. We're going to put that on YouTube, and then we can proceed with editing the next thing, which is actions and inputs. Wow, this editing stuff's a lot of work, isn't it? Okay, let's have a look. To know which client is making inputs. So that is explaining actions. So what's cool about managing it from the go.thread? Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not... Put a Cobalt server in. What have we done? Network is now maintained from the go.thread. So what's cool about managing it from the go.thread? Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not touching it. So if I was to look at Git, I would find that I have a branch. Where are we? Okay, so this is when I suddenly switched to doing actions at this point for the player. So everything after this, I'm doing actions. So that's 17 minutes and 39 seconds in. So I'm just going to write that in a Notepad++ document so I don't forget it. Because we have to delete everything before that in the other file. So delete before 17 minutes and 39 seconds. So that's what we're going to do when we go back to the video. So I'll put it over there. So you can remember it for me if you like. Okay, so how do we delete everything after that point? There's probably a right click delete everything to right option. Let's see. Remove. No, I'll just do it by hand. So I'll draw a box all the way around all those videos like this, and I'll go delete. Delete. What have we done? Network is now maintained from the go.thread. So what's cool about manage? Okay. Link. Added the physics process. Started client. Kill the client. So I need to record another clip in a minute. Fix that warning. Added a disconnect. Put a Cobalt server in. What have we done? Network is now maintained from the go.thread. So what's cool about managing it from the go.thread? Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not touching it. Okay. So I need to record like an outro, and I'm going to edit those clips that I just showed you into the middle of the outro. Let's try this. And by the way, I apologize if I click the wrong button and drop you from the stream. I'll be very careful this time. Let's try. First thing, I need to make my face really big, because that's what we're doing for this clip, right? Then I'm going to click start recording. So here I am. Here I am showing you my OBS window, which is showing you what I'm streaming you. I'm going to click start recording here. So let's start. This is making a file on my disk drive. So we'll switch to the camera, so you can no longer see what I can see. Oh well. In a minute I'm going to edit out this part that's at the start. Okay, and take the headphones off. So I look, so handsome. Anyway. And I move this cursor, it's distracting me. So,
So you've just watched me struggle with a port from. You've just watched me struggle with a port to Cobalt, which didn't quite work out. But at least in the end, I managed to move all my network code into the Godot thread. And the very next thing I did over the course of subsequent streams was to add an action that took the player's input. That if you want to watch that, you probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. All these streams have been recorded live. You can find them at Twitch. My Twitch username is Recall Singularity. Or on Discord. On Discord. And on Twitter, I'm also Recall Singularity. So please join up, search. There's all sorts of blog posts. Let's just do that last part again. If you want to learn more about the game that I'm making, just Google for the Recall Singularity. You'll find plenty of things, from blog posts to Twitter posts, even a story. I'm all over Reddit. My Reddit and Twitter and Twitch usernames are all Recall Singularity, and I'd love to have you on board. Our Discord server is full of people developing games, and so if that's what you're interested in, please join up and we can inspire you to do it yourself. It was nice. I hope you enjoyed watching, and catch you on the next video. So now I'm going to make sure I click the stop recording button. Let's go back to the main screen so you can see that was me recording. I'll put my headphones back on now so that I can hear the video editing process. And let's find the video we just made. It's good to see that didn't kick you guys off the second time round. Ugh, that was awful. Okay, refresh my list of videos and drag that across and drop it in to my video editing software. And then I'm going to pop it down on the track here. We'll put it here. Oh gosh, this is not the correct video. This is the original video that I edited.
Okay. Number 2.
That was my second take of my first video in 2018. So
Headset.
let's just stop that now. Let's just stop that. We're not doing that one. Okay. Where's the one I'm looking for? 213207. 21. This one is the one I wanted. I posted that highly embarrassing video onto YouTube along with the edited output of it. If you want to find out, you have to find my YouTube channel. As I was making a file on my disk drive, so we'll switch to the camera. This should look similar. You can no longer see what I can see. Oh, let me change the other. Oh well. In a minute, I'm going to edit out this part that's at the start. Okay, and take the headphones off. So I look, so handsome. It's a lie. I'm just posing. Okay. Let's just cut this here. Delete that. And move this cursor. It's distracting me. So, gotta practice in my head. Come on, you can do it. So you've just watched me struggle with it. There we are. So serious. So you've just watched me struggle. So you've just watched me struggle. We'll just start there. I'll do some funny eye motions. I'm just reminding myself not to squint because I was squinting beforehand and I was like, became suddenly aware that I wasn't really looking at the camera. I was so busy squinting. Probably going to look really funny when you suddenly see my eyes go. Anyway, we'll see. And I move this cursor, it's distracting me. Oh, I didn't delete that part. Let's just see this some more. So you've just watched me struggle with a port from. You've just watched me struggle with a port to Cobalt. It didn't quite work out, but at least in the end, I managed to move all my network code into the Godot thread. Okay. So you've just watched from. Here we are. It's probably this is the right spot. So you've just watched me struggle with a port to Cobalt, which didn't quite work out, but at least in the end, I managed to move all my network code into the Godot thread. And the very next thing I did over the course of subsequent streams was to add an action that took the player's input. That if you want to watch that, you probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. All these streams have been recorded
So we're gonna
live.
skip
You
this
can
part.
find them at Twitch. My Twitch username is Recall Singularity. Or on Discord. On Discord. And on Twitter, I'm also Recall Singularity. So please join up, search. There's all sorts of blog posts. Let's just do that last part again.
Here we go. Take 2. Ready? Okay, so let's go back slightly. Okay.
If you want to learn more about the game that I'm making, just Google for the Recall Singularity. You'll find plenty of things, from blog posts to Twitter posts,
Shut
even a
now.
story. I'm all over Reddit. My Reddit and Twitter and Twitch usernames are all Recall Singularity, and I'd love to have you on board. Our Discord server is full of people developing games, and so if that's what you're interested in, please join up and we can inspire you to do it yourself. It was nice. I hope you enjoyed watching, and catch you on the next video. So now I'm going to make sure I click the stop recording. I feel like I need to leave that last part on, just because it's so silly. It makes me smile. I just like the idea of it being so raw. I mean, you can see that the process is anything but raw. I think there's a clip in there I meant to delete. So you've just watched me struggle with a port. You just watched me struggle with editing a video about talking about editing something else. But at least in the end, I managed to move all my network code into the Godot thread. And the very next thing I did over the course
Hey,
of
We're
subsequent
Constructor, it's nice to
streams
see you.
was to add an action that took the player's
Thank you for
input.
joining us.
That if you want to watch that, you probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. All these streams have been recorded live. You can find them at Twitch.
This part I'm going
My
to
Twitch username is Recall Singularity. Or on Discord.
Okay. Great. So now I'm going to see if I want to mix this outro with any of this stuff.
So you've just watched me struggle with a port from. So you've just watched.
That part was going to go. Okay.
So you've just watched me struggle with a port to Cobalt, which didn't quite work out. But at least in the end, I managed to move all my network code into the Godot thread. And the very next thing I did over the course of subsequent streams was to add an action that took the player's input. That if you want to watch that, you probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. If you want to learn more about the game that I did over the course of subsequent streams was to add an action.
Okay. Talking head.
We have moved our communications. We struggled with a port to Cobalt, which didn't quite work out.
So I'm wondering if I can edit these two together somehow.
We have moved our communications to the Godot thread. This is pretty cool. We have gone here, taken the starword link, added the physics process, started the client, killed the client, fixed that warning, added a disconnect, put a Cobalt server in. What have we done? Network is now maintained from the Godot thread. So what's cool about managing it from the Godot thread? Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector.
So we'll just grab these two.
To move all my network code into the Godot thread.
So we'll just grab these, right? So that's my outro. I'm going to grab this last part where I say why it's cool. And then these two will be blended together. This is going to go on the bottom track and show over the top of the rest of my outro. So like this. And then we'll put this on top. And once again, I'm going to use the same trick where I cover the cut using another video track.
So you've just watched me struggle with a port to Cobalt, which didn't quite work out. But at least in the end, I managed to move all my network code into the Godot thread. So what's cool about managing it from the Godot thread? Now it's pretty trivial to say, okay, we've got a copy of the sector. The network is not touching it. And the very next thing I did over the course of subsequent streams was
Not showing at
to
all.
add an action that took the player's input. That if you want to watch that, you probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. If you want to learn more about the game that I'm making, just Google for the Recall Singularity. You'll find plenty of things, from blog posts to Twitter posts, even a story. I'm all over Reddit. My Reddit and Twitter and Twitch usernames are all Recall Singularity, and I'd love to have you on board. Our Discord server is full of people developing games, and so if that's what you're interested in, please join up and we can inspire you to do it yourself. It was nice. I hope you enjoyed watching, and catch you on the next video.
So what do I say that I have? I say that I have blog posts. I say that I have a Twitter post. Let's hear that one more time.
Was to add an action that took the player's input. That if you want to watch that, you probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. If you want to...
So what we'll do is we'll shorten this one. So I'm going to cut it somewhere around here.
Input. That if you want to watch that...
So we'll cut this bottom one around here. And we'll delete this so it goes back to my face. Delete and leave gap.
You probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. If you want to learn more about the game...
No, we need to keep covering that join because it was really ugly.
Player's input. That if you want to watch that, you probably need to catch up with the next YouTube video. If you want to learn more about the game that I'm making, just Google for the Recall Singularity.
I wish I'd said just search for the Recall Singularity because I don't use Google anymore.
If you want to learn more about the game that I'm making, just Google for the Recall Singularity.
So I say Google for the Recall Singularity.
You'll find plenty of things, from blog posts to Twitter posts, even a story. I'm all over Reddit. My Reddit and Twitter and Twitch usernames are all Recall Singularity.
Yeah, all over Reddit. Yeah. I already regret saying that. Okay. Let's have a go at recording this. So, how would I show myself as being... I'm going to have to capture without this camera on the front. So we're just going to hide the video camera. And start recording. Okay. So, I'm going to use this recording to just quickly take pictures of these different things. So, I don't want a private window. So we're going to open up a regular window. Let me just grab one. That's the sound windows make when you pull them off things, right? Oh yes, this is my typical thing. I always show everyone what I've been reading. Fortunately, nothing bad. So I've got blog posts. Blog posts in my case would be stories published, and I'm making a space game in space. There's this one here, right? So how I use Rust and Godot to explore space. So I wonder how I can scroll this smoothly. So that's there's a picture missing here. That's not very great. It's probably because I'm blocking it with my firewall. Anyway, so we'll just scroll down. Okay, so that's a blog post. Okay, what's the next thing I do? I have Twitter. Okay, let's open Twitter. So my Twitter is Recall Singularity, and here I kind of microblog. So let's show you my blog. And then the next thing I mention is a Discord server. So where's Discord? And so on my Discord server, and if you go on here, you can see progress pictures. So here's a Discord server. Let's make it a bit bigger. And what was the next thing I said I had? Let me just listen to it one more time so I can remember. Oh yes, of course, I'm on Twitch. You would never guess. Recall Singularity on Twitch. Here I am. Anyway, let me get rid of that. So let me just close this off and go back to me, and I'm going to click on stop recording. Okay, main screen. So
That all made a video, and we're going to throw it back into our video editing software, which is here. Let me change my camera back to the other kind and show myself. Show yourself. There I am. Great. Two things. Okay, so let's have a look at this video that I just made. We're going to listen to myself talk one more time. To add an action that took the player's input, that if you want to... Oh, it's too busy importing to play. Okay, let's bring this down. And we're going to... This video is what we're going to put in front. So we're just... God, that's meta. Okay. So, it says here, I've got lots of blog posts. So we'll start with this one. And we'll... Where do I start scrolling? I start scrolling about here. So we're going to kill everything before I start scrolling. Okay, so that is a little bit of scrolling on the blog post. That looks good. Okay, so what else do I talk about? Let's Google for the recall singularity. You'll find plenty of things. From blog posts, that's a blog post, to Twitter. So the next thing is Twitter. Okay, so let's skip forward to Twitter. Here's my Twitter, right? And seriously, if you follow it, you'll get lots of updates about what I'm up to. And feel free to ping me there. So delete everything up to the Twitter. So what do I talk about next? Posts, even a story. I didn't post, take a video of the story. To Twitter, posts, even a story. I'm all over Reddit. My Reddit and Twitter and Twitch usernames are all Recall Singularity, and I'd love to have you on board. Our Discord server is full of people developing games. So I mentioned the Discord server. So let's just throw these two clips of that video I made earlier, and then we'll show the video of the Discord server. So there's the Discord server there. It's usually about this time that I put a post in the chat that has a link to the Discord server. So let me just do that real quick. Invite people. This is for you, watcher. I want you to click the link I'm about to paste. So whoever you may be, let's create you a link. Edit invite link is never going to expire because you're just so close to my heart. And no limit. Generate a new link, copy, and I shall pop it in the chat window. So if you just jump across the chat, click the link and say hello to friendly people who are in the Discord server. And it's kind of blown my mind how when I go to bed I wake up and people have been talking in there. It's like super ultra awesome for someone who's just starting out like myself. Because at the start of this year I was in a bit of a black hole as a game developer. I felt like a bit of an imposter, and having a few people, just like having a couple of followers, made all the difference. Just saying, yes Tom, you're on the right track, keep going. It was amazing. So, and I still appreciate all that support, and you too will appreciate that as a game developer. So join up, talk to us. Where was I? Posts, even a story. I'm all over Reddit. So I'm going to move the blog post to line up with the moment I say the word blog. Or the recall singularity. You'll find plenty of things from blog posts. So blog post was just a little bit further back. You'll find plenty of things from blog posts to Twitter. I probably should have made that blog post clip a bit longer. You can extend a clip like this, it just unedits it. From blog posts to Twitter, so the Twitter needs to be right after this, like that. Plenty of things from blog posts to Twitter posts, even a story. I'm all over. Sorry, extend the Twitter post a little bit longer. I didn't mention the story. I've got like a little blah blah that I wrote about the world of the recall singularity. It's kind of a motivation. It's, what did I call that story? I had a particular name for it. I'm just telling you now because you, dear watcher, might go and find this story. If you go to this Rust and Go Out to Explore Space, at the bottom, A Tale of Conquest. And it's, you know, I didn't feel like I had any art that could do this justice, so I haven't got anything yet. The damaged mining vessel 335 docks with its mothership and begins the transfer of cargoes. A solid thunk of docking fades to the dull humming of machinery. This trip had been a productive one. Crucial resources travel through the docking systems. You know, reading this now makes me think I probably should read this whole thing on stream at some point. I won't make you listen to it right now. But maybe make a story time stream and I'll read it to you later. That'll be something good to put on, because I don't know. This story is as much to motivate me as it is about anybody else, and it's followed by some ideas of what features I'm going for and what the game is about. It's kind of like my first design document, and it's kind of interesting how, I guess, uninteresting it is to most people. I think they're mostly interested in the technology, and that's okay. I myself feel like a game's design is less important. I want to play the game, and then I'll figure out if the design means something to me. So I guess it's just how it is. Okay, anyway. Plenty of things, from blog posts to Twitter posts, even a story. I'm all over Reddit. My Reddit and Twitter and Twitch usernames are all Recall Singularity, and I'd love to have you on board. What's this grey thing mean? Oh, I see, I selected that. Sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt your enjoyment of me talking. You on board? Our Discord server is full of people developing games, and so if that's what you're interested in, please join up. So the Discord server screenshot's over here. That's what you're interested in, please join up. Board. So I need to find the point in this video where I showed the Discord server. So it's a Twitch server. It was quite funny, I think, showing it with you guys watching it. So we'll cut that Twitch server there, and then the Discord server is the next thing I showed. That shows you the latency of the video, which is, from a nerd point of view, quite interesting. Now this bottom track's muted, that's why you can't hear it. So that's Twitter. Where do I show Discord? I thought I showed Discord at some point here. Have already jumped past the Discord one. We need to catch up with the next. From blog posts to Twitter posts. I think I must have jumped past the Discord. It was nice. I hope you. There's a Discord there. That's the one I was looking for. And I'll make it bigger in a moment. Okay, so we'll start where I make it bigger, like this. There we go. So my assumption is that if you're looking for the Discord server, you can find it, because I've put links basically everywhere I can think of, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. And eventually when the game's released, I'll be able to make it an official server. And catch you on the next video. So now I'm going to make sure I click the stop recording. Yeah, I clicked the stop recording button for sure. Okay, so let's put these two in the right place. My Reddit and Twitter and Twitch usernames are all Recall Singularity, and I'd love to have you on board. Our Discord server happens just about here, and then I'll put the Twitch one directly after it. Singularity, and I'd love to have you on board. Our Discord server is full of people developing games, and so if that's what you're interested in, please join up and we can inspire you to do it yourself. It was nice. I hope you enjoyed watching, and catch you on the next video. So now I'm going to make sure I click the stop recording. He needs to have a flight desk. Okay, so that, my friends, is a finished first video. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a hell of a lot better than anything else I've got. And I think I won't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. So next thing I have to do is produce this video. Takes a while to load this thing. Hopefully we don't end up hitting a CPU problem when it starts producing the video of some kind. So what we want to do is online. We want to produce to YouTube. Our quality level is going to be full HD quality. I called it Stream Edits Network Issue. So it's porting. How do I say this? Because it really is like the Recall Singularity faces, or where I fail to port my Godot and Rust game to a new networking stack. Dad of 3 fails to make a game. Come watch. Anyway, titles are hard. Where I failed to port my Recall Singularity. I'll put a #1 in front of it because it is #1. Streams. No, edited streams, edited, or yeah, let's just do edited. Networking refactor. Fails. Oh yeah, that'll work. Okay. So number 1, edited. Network refactor fails. Hope you guys don't mind the absolutely tynastic fonts. I just need to move this so I can actually read it myself because the microphone's in the way. I can't see through the microphone to that bottom corner of the screen. It's going to be public for all of you. User hardware video. I don't know why I can't tick the hardware video encoder. Put on science and technology. Interesting, I can't use that. Oh, probably because OBS is holding the hardware video encoder open. That's probably why I can't do it. What else do I put in this text? Anyway, start. Authorize. Yes. Choose an account. Oh great, so now my personal email address is on stream. That's really great. Oh well, you would have found it anyway if you just Googled me. I will allow it to have access. I will allow it. Producing. So very shortly, my friends, you will be able to find the fully edited video of me rambling about various topics to do with my game online when this thing is done. I would start editing the next video, but I can't. If only there's some other computer-related activity that I tend to stream. How about we stream some coding? That sounds like fun. So, I really appreciate you dropping by for video editing. If your thing is not coding, you probably want to leave now. Hopefully you'll have some fun either way. I really appreciate you dropping by. This was the Recall Singularity. Okay, where were we? Let me just make this the right size. Those fonts are still set for grandpas and people who are watching streams. I'm not saying you're a grandpa, I'm just saying that my resolution is being downsampled. I've played with my bitrate settings, hopefully you guys like it now. I don't need desktop audio anymore because you're not listening to me edit a video. This is progressing quite well, so whoops. Hopefully I don't do anything to disrupt the progress of this. But you can see this little clock down here is now up to, it's done the first minute. Yeah, it's going about half real time. Okay. I'm finding it very distracting. Normally I put a chat window about here. Like so. Okay. Let me take a moment to reorientate myself to what I was up to. I've made some fixes since the last time you saw me. What I was doing was I was simplifying my communications. And the way that I was simplifying it was by... I probably need to change my Twitch stream as well. All my stream information. The way that I was simplifying it was by making a standardized mapping between Specs, which is a framework for handling data in a game, and Godot, making that all generic. But I've got a problem at the moment. I'm just going to change my stream label here Where's the panel? Here we are. It's all about my stream. So no longer cutting old stream videos. So now I'm doing specs to Godot interactions. Pardon me about that update. Okay, so hopefully all you find, folks who wish to find an excellent and high quality stream can now do so. Let's see if hey, I got no upvotes on my watch people code. Ah well. Such is life. It's all gonna be okay. Sync system. What have I done since I last committed? Ignore the data files here. So I stripped a whole bunch of code out of this class that is, specific. Because remember how I'm replacing it with a generic system. So I've deleted all the old code that it should no longer be necessary here. Entity create, I've modified this so that it does something called set world ID. So it tells the spaceship what it belongs to. When the spaceship is created, a bit further down. So here's where it sets the world ID. And I added a target here, which has something to do with a feature that we'd changed, which required a nightly build. We changed a feature in the last stream, so that batch file stopped working. So those are the things I've done. Let's just commit those, so we've got a nice clean slate. Well, they've staged, they're not committed yet. But I've got a problem. And my problem is that when I run the game, in fact I'm running the server here, which complained that the server was already running. I've been running the server this whole time. Stuck in a bug. Let me just shut it all down so I can run it for you a second time. Run server. Run game. The video's done the first quarter. So I'm finding it really nice that every time I'm streaming, I seem to get another 10 people watching. So tonight I've got 41 people watching. So to every one of you, I really appreciate having you here. Thank you for dropping by. And what that tells me as a developer is that building an audience is just about hard work. It's not necessarily, well, I'm not finding that hard at the moment, but there's a lot of talk, if you read online articles, about how success is all about luck, but I think that success is just about doing the work, putting the work in, and being smart, and about what work you put in. It's not any kind of magic. You just need to keep going and keep going. So that's really gratifying for me, because I can't reproduce luck, but I can reproduce repeated work. I can just keep at it for long enough until finally it tips over. So this is a problem we have. We're trying to find this particular object, which is a mask storage of production module, but it doesn't exist. This is a world initialization problem. So I need to figure out why we're getting this exception. I'm just processing that in my head. It's possible that I think I know. Yeah, maybe it's possible that that component is not initialized until we connect to the server and we get the first tick back. That would make some sense. I just don't know which world has this problem. And so do I put more debugging output in, or do I put breakpoints in? Do I just make a guess? And the other question is, why is this occurring now? Is it occurring because of my change? So that's one thing to know for sure. I think the reason why it's happening is because I've changed this to calling set world ID, which means the spaceships are finding out what their different world IDs are. So if I run the server and the client again, do I get a different response? Do I still get this error now that I've removed that set world ID? Or does it all go okay? See, there we go. So something to do with setting that world is what's caused this problem. So one thing about setting the world is it's going to create world 2, which is down here. So has only world 1 been properly set up and world 2 is not properly set up? And which makes me think that maybe it's to do with the star world, the sector in here. When we register this world callback, we go through every world. In theory, are we going through the same world every time? We're not going through different worlds here. So it'll be very interesting to add some more logging around this. Let's just put some logging in here and see what output it gives us, if it gives us any clues. Because I think that what we'll find is that this is all 3 worlds are getting registered, or just one of them, which is the star world. And that could tell us something. So we're going to print out that register world callback has been called. How many worlds we have? This worlds. And self.worlds. How many worlds do we have? Self.worlds.len, which will return a number saying how many there are. And if we look at where this is called from, we'll see that which the GD floor components is what gets called. So we'll add a print line in here as well, that we are registering components for world. Now, this callback takes a world. I wonder if lock world has enough information. Does it know its own world ID? No. Does sync world know its world ID? Okay, why isn't it not being found? Or is it called world sync? Probably should rename it to sync world so that everything ends with world. Weird Constructor points out that there's always a bit of luck, and that there's a precondition you must work hard either way. That's completely true. So as they say, luck favours the prepared. So I think it is a combination of the two. The harder you work, the more likely that luck will find you, and when it does find you, the more likely you'll be ready to face it head on. So you could say that just by making the effort to work every day, you get better at your craft, and then when someone says, oh, you're working on such and such, you can make a better impression. It's much better to just work on it every day and get better at it than to wait till you're perfect before you start. You know, that's just the baseline truth, right? Whatever I say must be true because I'm saying it. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Let's think. It's a kind of interesting asymmetrical dynamic where I'd love for you guys to write and appear on stream, but there's a text comes to me and voice comes from me out. Just as a streamer, it's really interesting. As a technical person, I don't know. Whatever. I like talking. World sync. Okay, so my question was, does world sync know its own world number, which it doesn't? Do we make it so that function that gets called, I think we should, knows a world ID, because that's really interesting to know which world IDs have been registered and when. So let's put that in the function signature that we call. So here where we register floor components, we could say that this doesn't just take a world, but it also takes a ID, like so. And then we go to where that was called, which is here. And then this function here also takes a global world ID. And we know the global world ID because it's the key. So we're going to change this to world ID world. And so in this dictionary, we just need to get the key value out. So we can just get rid of this and enumerate the dictionary itself, or the hash map, to get the world ID out. Like so. What's wrong here? I need to say that world is mutable. I'm going to rerun the server. And so the result of this is that we should get some output prior to this exception that tells us whether or not the function has been called, which might give us some clues as to what's going on. Okay, so I wrote print lin rather than print ln. I don't know how that happened. Might have been a mental hiccup. I was thinking line in my head. And callback. Okay, so we need to change the member variable so that it's also of the same type. And here we're calling it as well. This is the moment where we actually create the world. And once again we need to specify the world ID, which is here. We need to pass it into this function f, like so. So f is us calling the callback. So let's just rename this from f to CB maybe, or callback. Can't remember if it conflicts with something else in the area. Is there anything else called callback here? No. Because I don't really want a variable name shadowing another one, if possible, because it confuses the debugger. Self worlds. In fact, I don't need these headphones anymore because I'm not listening to anything. I'm just wearing them out of a misplaced sense of loyalty, I guess. I could put some music on for myself, that would be nice, but I'd probably end up speaking too loudly. I need to say intermute. And then here we need to dereference. I think that server's now working. There we go, so the server's now working. Let's run the client again, and when it blows up, because it will, because I haven't changed the behavior. Oh, I haven't actually put back in that point where it sets the world ID, and because of that it probably won't blow up. It'll probably look okay, but missing a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so it's complaining that the debug output in mod in here that I added, I forgot to put a semicolon on the end. So we will try in the game again. Okay, so the next question is, do we see those? Those calls that set everything up. Registering components for world. Registering components for world. So register world callback called 3 worlds in self world. So one question I'm immediately raising is, I need to here, the reason why I put the world ID in was so that I could write it into this output here. So let's write it in. Video production is up to 15 minutes out of 18. So it's getting close. So then the other one is to add a debug when the world is created. So it's it'll be pretty obvious actually already. I don't need to add any extra locking for that. Let's run the game again. I need to put a star here. World ID. I need to use 0. That's the problem. I need to say .0, which is getting the value out of the world. Stop and rerun. Yeah, will the game run? Great. There's a bunch of debug output here. So I wanted to see that all 3 different worlds have been called. So interesting. So it starts with world 2, then world 1, then world 0. So that's a reminder that hash maps are going to iterate in a random order, but that's fine. So all 3 worlds have their initialize called. And really early too. Is there something in there I need to learn? I mean, when the root one star world link calls the children and creates them, have they not had the chance to do something? Yeah. I think we're going to have to jump back into the debugger to solve this one. So we'll quit the client and we'll spin up Visual Studio again. 2017. And this is Visual Studio Community comes up, and there's a solution that we got from compiling the go.source. All the documentation for doing this process is documented online. I mentioned it in the previous stream as well. With go. It tells you how to build from source and so on. Interesting. Start page for this hasn't come up with my solutions yet. I think it's still loading. Oh, of course, what's going on is everything's going slowly because I'm waiting for the video production is using up all my hard drive processing power. Okay, here we go. So we're going to run. So the question I want to ask myself is, in what sequence are things getting called here? Which is usually a great one actually to answer by putting log entries in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the source file, Control O, that handles the module synchronization. I'm going to put a breakpoint. It won't even get to run though, will it? So I need to find all the places where you find the word GD module sync. Let's just find them in here because it's in the right project and it knows where they all are. It's only this one run now that I'm really worried about. So that's in GD ship link. Control O. Go up. Go to bridge. Go to GD ship link. And module sync. And we're going to run that. Yeah. And we'll see if what sequence that's getting called in. And in order to recreate this bug, I'm probably going to have to quit out of the game and actually rebuild with this bug back in. So, well, we'll do it without the bug first. So right now there's nothing wrong with it. Remember how it starts up and it doesn't exhibit the behavior that's causing a crash? Do I want to build it? No. Will it still start? Yeah, it's still starting. Okay. Because we don't need to rebuild Godot because I haven't changed the Godot source code. My breakpoint hasn't been hit. Does that mean it's not debugging? Yeah, so it hasn't actually launched with a debugger. Probably have to choose to build in order to get a debugger. Okay, so we have to wait for Godot to decide it doesn't need to build. I'll be back in a second. There you go, off-camera person. Excellent. Thank you for staying around while I sorted that out. Okay. This time it's hit the breakpoint. So obviously it needed to spend a time recompiling for this to work. It's hit that breakpoint. What's the call stack look like? Why, thank you for the water, mysterious off-screen person. Okay. Shrouded in mystery. Creation. What the hell? So Star World Link has called creation, and then during the creation process, we've gone in here, and an entity. Oh, this is because the breakpoint had a different breakpoint than what I intended to hit. I intended to hit a break. Yeah, that's the breakpoint I was expecting. Up here, in process. So if world ID in this other code, so remember how creation, I just determined that creation got called first, and then that created the spaceship, and then almost immediately the spaceship got processed, probably on a later frame actually. It took quite a long time. In creation, that's where we actually call this set world ID function, and could there be some kind of weird condition around the timing of that? So in ship link, what is that set? Down here we have this function, set world ID. And in fact, actually we have a debug output that happens at that moment when that comes in, which passes in the world ID. And if it's not set here, there's actually a default. So I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, so having seen that, and it runs a few times and everything runs okay. Okay, just a second. Yes, sorry about that. That happens when I try and set this world ID. Pardon me. Okay. So let's go back to our Rust source. And in here, I'm going to make sure that when we run, we recompile the DLL SG core, like so. It's building now. But that build is kind of useless because the one I want to take care of is inside of entity create. I commented out this line here that calls via Godot and tells the spaceship what world it is. And for some reason having this call causes things to go badly wrong. So let's have a look at what's going on. I'll just rebuild the DLL, so that's going on the other screen. And now that that's done, we'll jump back to Visual Studio. Yes, things have changed, please reload. Please rebuild. Yes, build that. Got a little building dialog over here. As you can see, progress building. So I've got 3 monitors. That one's a 4K monitor, but it's been downscaled for your benefit. And then on both sides are 2500 pixel monitors. And so for me, they're all laid out like 3 monitors. But for you, I can't fit all that stuff into a reasonable stream that someone could actually watch. So this is now panicking. Here's it panicking here. So what's really interesting is it never hit the breakpoint where GD module sync got called. How did it never hit the breakpoint and yet end up with this problem? And I wonder if there's some other entity involved, because I just quit the game before I had another look at what's going on. Let's run it one more time. Debug. I want to put another one in here, and Starward Link as well. That one doesn't get run either. Does creation ever get one? Yeah, it runs down here. I'm finding this really mysterious. Why would that be? There's some mysterious other thing that's going on here that I haven't figured out yet. You know, one thing we could do is we could look at this. So here's a path name to a file, right? So it tells us that file is on line 420 is causing a panic, right? So if I copy the path to that file, we'll quit this. Control O, paste that in here. Here's that file. Go to line 420. That's where it has a panic. We're going to put a breakpoint on that. And when we run it again, we should hit the breakpoint and it'll tell us exactly where the problem was. That's a brilliant idea, Tom. Yay! Ooh, it's all going to work out. Let's see. I had mirrored my camera, so when I look that way, I'm looking at the other screen here. And it's hit the breakpoint. Isn't that very, very... Wow. If you look at this, it hasn't written anything out yet, and it's already hit the breakpoint. That's really interesting. How? So create a star world link. Okay, it's not jumping to that location. We call ready. Let the sector be a singleton sector. Build a static one. What the hell? Create the first world, global ID world 0. I get the feeling this isn't actually a real exception. I get the feeling that this is a fake, that we're not about to have a panic, that it's moved. I need to put the breakpoint up here. I think the breakpoint's been moved to the wrong place. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so it's heading the first time that Star World Link. This is making a lot of sense. We expect this to be the case. I think that when creation is called, it causes this problem, because that's where the line inside creation. So remember I showed you that line that I uncommented? It's called inside this GD entity creation thing. So I pushed F10, and it stepped down to the next line. So it doesn't blow up straight away. It blows up later on. Let's see what happens next. So we step out of the Star World Link, and we're still alive. So I'm going to go back to running. What happens next after that? Okay, so now we're in the second frame, I think. Interesting. Okay, so we'll step through. Dup, 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 and run. Now we're inside the ship link. Module sync run now. So let's have a look at this output. So here we've set up world 1, here we've set up world 2, here we've set up world 0. Okay, and in here we're in this particular ship. What world ID are we? I'm starting to get an inkling of what might have happened. I'm wondering if maybe we made a ship and we told it was a world ID that wasn't 0, 1 or 2. It was some other world with a completely new world ID, and for some reason we didn't set that world up properly. So let's have a look. World. What is self.world ID? Can we see it in the variables? Okay, so a ship link should not be world ID 0. So it sounds like what we did was we told the ship that its world ID was the same world as the space world. We didn't transmit each ship its specific world ID. We transmitted each ship its parent's world ID, which would explain this bug very, very well. That's like facepalm. Can we even possibly know this at the point of creation? So having localized the bug, I'm just going to minimize that, so that's still paused. So that's why compiling Godot from source, making a Visual Studio project is so cool, because now we can debug it, we can see what mistake I personally made in my creation code, entity create. And this line here, where I said set world ID, I passed current child world. But current child world isn't actually the child world, it's going to be the space world, because we're creating the spaceship inside the space world, not inside the ship. I know that sounds crazy, it's hard to explain. How are we going to solve this? It's almost like an entity has a scene root and an owning world as well. Yeah, let's just call it exactly that. So I'm going to go into the scene locks object, which is called GD scene lock, and this guy specifies where in the scene tree something is. So if I just look at this, the problem was that this world ID, that's like a scene tree world ID. So what we can do is we can rename this field to be exactly that, scene tree world ID. Great. Goes through and it renames that. And we want to have another one, which is simply world ID, which is the thing that owns this, which world did it actually come from. And either we specify it here, or it's in the world that we're currently processing. And so in this case, it's in a different world, right? And then we go down to, I think we define default for this, and the default for an option is going to be none anyway. But in the case of ship sync and any other entity that is like this, we need to specify. Interesting how it hasn't refactored this world ID here. We have to be careful about that. Dpos dot. So we need to say the world ID is equal to ship dot. Let's have a look at what a spaceship is. This is one called Child World, is the one we're interested in putting in here. I'm not sure about this design and how it's working, and in my head it's not making a huge amount of sense. This is the world ID we specify to the scenes script. Okay, and we need to make sure that we haven't set world ID anywhere else. We always call it GDPOS, so we'll use that. Nope, that's the only one. We need to say that it's some. So we've specified one, it's either some or none. And it's saying it can't link. And the reason why it can't link is because Visual Studio is still running, Godot is still running, and that's holding the DLL. So we're going to quit the debugger. Run it again. In my other tab, I'm just quickly launching YouTube and having a look at my own channel. I want to see if the processing for the video... Oh, excellent. Is it ready to watch? It's ready to watch. That's wonderful. So, we'll just make that bigger. And I'll bring it across. So here's the video that we were editing earlier. If you caught the start of the stream, you would have seen this video being edited.
It needs to zoom out.
So I'd love it if you want to jump online and watch that later on. If you want to see the whole thing. And I'm just going to go and throw it into the Discord server. Because what could go wrong?
Hi, I'm Tom Lees, and I'm making a space factory game called The Recall Singularity, where you get to build factories in space. Join me tonight as I show you a breakdown of the streams that I've been doing. After a member of my Discord community told me the value of streaming and how great it is to share development, I thought, what a great and painless way
wonderful.
So that's not only develop at the same time socially, but actually
into my
share
server,
what I've been up to. And here they are edited into a format you'd probably actually want to watch.
Announcements.
Okay, let's try that.
In this one, I've just got the setup for these rocks. This is what they look like with iron ore on them.
This edited progress video.
With nickel ore on them.
Made from fresh
cobalt
streams.
Ice.
Tastes.
We've got rocks. The rock scene. So when you open the rocks file in Godot, it creates this. What I've done is I've gone to each one of these.
Up to
If you look at the material on the right hand side here,
it's an interesting
place
format.
myself in a nice position so you can see. So we're in the material.
Here.
The norm map is really essential.
Everybody.
So we'll put that in.
Everyone.
And so if I grab this light and move it now, you shouldn't be able to see the triangles and the lighting. Well, you can kind of hear.
Yes.
So this is my current
that all
experiment
worked.
scene.
Wonderful.
And I've got 3 classes that Godot knows about. We've got
Sorry if
4
you're too busy
tiles,
watching
ShipLink,
some crazy guy stream
and
about
Star
his
World
computer game
Link.
development, and then you get bothered by a notification and
there's so much fun I
Discord.
can't stop doing.
I'm sure
Anyway,
you'll understand. So
Okay.
after a short explanation
Let
of
me
how the
just
game works
mute
and how the
this.
3D models are... I'm sorry, I was trying to talk over my own video there for a while. You know, I just realized I never normalized the audio volume. I always meant to go back and fix the problem where some of the talking I did was quiet and some of the talking I did was loud. Blast. Oh well, let's just not worry about that right this second. I need to go back and do that later. Need to make sure that this is saved. Quit Power Director. We'll do more editing some other time. Okay. Bring back up my little browser. I've got a browser window that I had open that I just disrupted in that process of getting distracted, talking about everything with you guys. I don't blame you, don't worry. We're still good. edited. Some Twitch suggestions about making things better, and somewhere in here I've got this admin panel that tells me how things are going and that everything's working. That's all good to see. Great. Let us continue. What was I up to? That's right. Now when I run everything, we should see that the two ships appear. It'll be very nice to see. Yes. You can't see their floors yet. And I think part of the reason why you can't see their floors is because the sub thing, which is to place the floors, is not working properly in this particular version. I might have commented out the code that did it as well. It's currently lagging because it's racing to catch up with the server that's already gone ahead. Run. Are we running the server inside this? I think we are. Yeah. Here's the server running. Oh no, it's not. There it is. There. We'll stop the server. There's no point at running ahead any further. What was the next problem? Okay, we need to get the floors working. So if we go back to the ship link, floor. So in Godot, let's jump across to Godot now. So in Godot, we have another scene, 3D ship. Ship root. And the ship root contains this floor here, and also floor tiles and tile 10x10 and so on. Floor tiles has its own script in here. That's the floor tiles script. And in ship link, in floor tiles, we load this mesh here. How do we update? So we should get called with a set world ID. I'm not sure who's supposed to call our set world ID function. It's probably called from GD script. So we'll jump across to Visual Studio Code and have a look at the GD script for this. GD script, I think it was like Alt space or Control space or something. Alt space, Shift space. I can't remember how we looked up a file. Control F. No. Alt T. Control T. There we go. Control T. That's the one I was looking for. This is symbols, not files. Oh well, let's have a look at the file tree. It's been too long since I've used this seriously. I've forgotten all the shortcut keys. So inside space, nope. Inside ship root. Ship root gets a function call for set world ID. It immediately turns around and calls floor.setWorldID, floor tiles.setWorldID, and also update tiles. So when it calls floor tiles.setWorldID, is it calling it too soon somehow? It's possible that the floor tiles in the past were always created after the ship had been made, and that somehow is changing the what's going on. So in floor tiles, set world ID, update tiles. I'm going to try very quickly to fix this tile problem, and then I might just move on to much more boring stuff to do with promoting the video we just made. Once again, there's a fly in here, and not only is there a fly in here, it's buzzing around the microphone and literally landed on it just now. I bet that didn't sound great. Sorry about that. So first we clone current floor, tries to get the singleton sector. Oh, that's really interesting. So we're actually got the singleton sector locked in the base in sector. So in the sector itself, when the floor is called, because of the way we're processing this, the singleton sector is still locked when we get to here. We can't actually get it a second time because the call's within a call. And as a result of that, I wonder if we can somehow get all the worlds out at once. How else can we do this? This is, this is a bit of a nuisance. Do we need to somehow queue all the Godot calls that we're planning to do to other objects? So, just to be clear, the reason why this is not working is that if we go into GD ship link, right, which is the one that's initiating things, this creation function is the one that created the ship. And up here we've locked a sector, and it's going to remain locked until well after all this stuff is done, because we're using world here, right? But inside creation, we create a ship, and not only do we create it, we tell it what its world ID is. The moment we tell it what its world ID is, it calls into the Godot code, which then calls back into the floor code here. And when in the same call tree, so there's a call stack going up, and so that call tree is going to then call update tiles, and it's going to try and call clone current floor, which can't actually lock the mutex. And it can't lock the mutex because it's currently held by the parent. And this is the problem by having like a giant static singleton shared by all objects at once. And this might actually be part of why often you don't see a floor update on my screen. It's probably to do with race conditions around this specific problem, but I hadn't run into it before. How am I going to solve it? The obvious thing to do is to just queue up things like update tiles and not do them straight away. Right? In fact, that's just what I'm going to do. Because I know update files is likely to be called in someone else's update function, but our update function itself is not. So in here, in update tiles, what we'll do is we'll set a boolean saying, we're going to set a tiles dirty here, right? Tiles are dirty. Make it a boolean. So the word dirty is like a programming thing saying that something has changed and you need to do a process to make it ready for use again. So tiles are dirty is a way of saying that something has changed, we need to actually get the tiles ready to use. So to start off with, tiles are dirty is going to default to false. And then if we come down to the update function, which has a similar signature to the ready function, so we'll copy that. So in update, and we'll just check there's no other update. In update, if self.tiles are dirty, I don't need brackets in Rust, self.tiles are dirty equals false. And then we're going to call self.do update tiles owner. And so we are using owner here, like so. If the tiles are dirty, then so basically we're queuing this call. We're not doing it straight away, we're going to do it later. And so here we're going to say self.tiles are dirty is now true. We don't need owner, so we'll put an underscore to say that this variable is not being used. And the actual work of updating the tiles is moved into a different function. We're going to call do update tiles, like so. And in this one, owner is used. Yeah, yeah. And so now it'll always be able to lock the floor because we're not in the middle of someone else's process of locking a floor. I've got a key on my keyboard, a C key. It's overactive. I can just rest my finger on it and it types it in. So I'm often replacing things with the letter C. It's very annoying. Something is holding open this, and I bet it's Godot, because Godot opens my DLL and holds it open. It's slightly annoying. It's slightly very annoying. It's very slightly annoying. It's all of those things at once. Okay, we still don't have any floor. Okay, so that guess wasn't good enough. If I build walls, does that help? Floor build. And the walls aren't being updated either, which isn't surprising because I haven't written any code. I haven't written code that's going to delete them or change their models. So we can create modules, we can't delete them. So this is all to do with stuff that I've put in that I haven't taken out, like replaced yet. It's a glorious future. So we have some fun bugs to work through, and it's making a lot of sense. And we can see that the problem is only in the Godot layer, because here's a rendering of the ship. And you see this has got a big open area. It hasn't got any walls in it. So it's just the fact that when we remove the modules, it didn't remove them here, which isn't surprising because I know how the integration works. We never really wrote the removal or modification of modules type stuff. We only put in the creation of modules. So on the next stream, we'll continue tracking down these issues. But for now, I'm going to call it a night in terms of streaming. I thank you for joining me. Please follow. Feel free to Google or search for Recall Singularity for more information. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day or evening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.